Hey everyone, and welcome to Candid Motherhood. I just wanted to take a minute and thank all of our listeners for your support. You all are amazing. If you'd like to get to know me or Jackie better, if you aren't already, please follow us on Instagram or Facebook at candid.motherhood or on YouTube at Candid Motherhood. We post pictures and videos daily. If you have questions, feedback, or ideas for future episodes, please don't hesitate. Leave us a message or a comment. Again, thank you so much for all your support. Jackie and I love you all. Hello, Candid Mamas, and welcome. You're listening to the Candid Motherhood Podcast with Roxy
and Jackie,
where we tell you all about the ins and outs of motherhood.
We share our own life experiences to prepare you for the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes along with parenting.
So grab your coffee,
sit down,
get comfy,
and enjoy today's episode.
Hey, Candid Mamas, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Tell All Tuesday. If you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, knowing the things you know now, what would you say? What advice would you give? And what would you do differently?
Ooh, those are good questions to ask.
So, Jackie, is there anything in particular that maybe would be on the top of your list of if you could go back in time that you would tell your younger self?
Yeah, definitely. I think that my number one thing would be to lose weight like at a younger age. Weight has always been an issue for me. And when you're young, you really don't think of it as an issue. Like you just want to be a kid, and you just want to have a normal life. And I didn't realize growing up how much of a burden it would be in my life getting as you get older. And when I had kids and everything like that, it just makes it harder and harder to lose the weight. So if I had actually taken control of my life when I was younger and lost weight, then I probably now would be in a better situation health-wise and weight-wise. Is there anything on your list that's strikes you like the number one thing that you definitely have said or changed?
One of my number one things was keeping up with my good credit, because I really ruined my credit when I was young. And by the time I've gone to college, it was completely destroyed. And I wish that I would have taken my credit more seriously, because when you're young, you don't think you're going to need credit, or you don't even think about your credit. But then when you get older, you're like, damn, I wish I didn't make all these stupid mistakes when I was in my 20s. Because when you're young, you just everyone will give you a credit card because you have no credit. So just open up a credit here and there and then max it out because you think you have all this money, but you don't realize that you're going to have to pay that money back. So that was one of the advice that I would go back and tell myself for sure.
That's a good one, because I remember my first credit card was a student credit card. So it really didn't have a lot of money on it, maybe $100, $200. It was used to buy books at school. But when I got my first real credit card, they gave me $1,000 credit limit. And I think I was 19. I went to the mall and I was with some other friends, and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to buy you this. I'm going to buy, swipe, swipe, swipe. Let's just up. And I think I maxed that card out in one day. And it took me years to pay that off.
They trick you, I swear. I had a job at Victoria's Secret when I was younger, and because I worked there, they gave me a credit line that I could use there. Bath and Body Works, Express. I can use it in all three stores because they own all of them. Yeah. And that was really, really bad. I maxed that thing out every week. I would pay it off and I would max it out right again. And I was going broke. I was literally working to pay off that credit card.
And those store credit cards, the interest rate, you don't really know anything as a kid about interest rates and things like that. You just know I'm going to pay the minimum payment because that's the way that I should pay them, But the store credit cards are 25 to 30% interest on whatever you spend. And that is like crazy. I had a few store credit cards and I tried my best to like, well, at first I was horrible with them and I maxed them all out. But then like when me and Rob started to really like try to pay off some debt when we were a little younger before kids, I went for those cards first because those were like the ones that is going to take the longest to pay off. And it's, if you look at the bills, it's kind of crazy when they're like, okay, if you keep paying the minimum payment, you'll pay off your balance in 25 years. And you're like, holy crap.
Exactly. So what I would go back and tell my younger self is it's a trick. They're tricking you. Don't do it because it's going to come back to bite you in the butt later on.
Yeah.
When you're trying to buy a house in 15 years, you're going to need that credit. So that's what I would say.
Now I only have one credit card and it's like totally like nothing on it, you know, good to go.
Emergencies only.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's what you really need that when you get older is like that, just like emergency fund card, just in case.
Yep.
Especially when you're at home.
You're right. So what is another thing that's on your list?
So another thing that I would think I would have done differently is I definitely would have gone away to college. I did go to college for 2 years, but I went to, you know, the community college. I didn't finish it. To me, it was like high school all over again. And I didn't take it seriously. I failed a bunch of classes my first semester. And then by year 2, I just wasn't interested in it anymore. And I realized that I needed to make money. So, but my parents told me that if I wanted to go away to college, I had to pay for college. And I told them, well, that's not really fair. You know, usually the parents are the ones that are supposed to pay for college. So I said, well, if I'm going to stay home, then you're paying for college. So they paid for the 2 years that I went, but I never even got a degree. But I definitely missed that experience of being able to like live in the dorm and meet different people from, you know, all over the country. So that, and, you know, I don't have a degree. Not that I would know what I would want a degree in, because at the time I was into art and I would have probably went for an art major, which is a horrible decision because you're not making any money being an artist. But now, knowing what I know now, I probably would have went to school to become a doctor of some sort.
Graphic artists these days actually make a lot of money because everything's computerized.
Well, I wish I would have known that when, you know, I was going to school. We, you know, when we went to college, it was right on the cusp of that new.
It was just starting out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have something similar as number 2 on my list, which is I would go back and tell myself, don't waste your time going to college without a focus in your career, because I wasted a lot of money going to school and time. And I did get an associate's, like just a general, but it was like, I wasted that money because I didn't even get a job afterwards that was anything in my career or anything. So I wish that I would have not gone to college. It would have saved me like 25 grand. Yeah. And then you have to realize that you take loans out and you got to pay those loans back.
Yes.
And then you don't have a job to pay them back with. So you need to make sure that you know what you want to go for and just focus your college all on that, and don't waste the money if you don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, like I'm a big believer on really like not going to college as soon as you graduate high school, because I feel like when you're 17, 18 years old, you really don't know what you want to do in life unless you've always known and you just know exactly what you're going to college for. But I knew for myself that I did not know what I wanted to be. And I felt like that was a waste of time and money. And I feel like people should take a year off, maybe 2 years off, and you go back when they're a little older, when they really know what they want out of life.
I agree. When you're that young, really, like school becomes a big party central zone, you know, and all you want to do is just go out and party. And
well, that was my problem.
It's easy to lose focus. And really rarely anybody really knows what they want to do when they're 17. You know, I feel like you don't find that out until you've lived a little bit of life and you find out, the things you like and you don't like. I mean, some people do. And those are the type of people that if you do need college, go ahead and go for it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, I would say just wait off until you have some sort of idea on what you want to do.
Yeah. See, like, I feel like that was my problem is I wanted to make money, not be in school. So I was in school full time and also working full time. But I remember I took an art class and like art was my thing. That was like what I was going to go to school for. And it was on Friday mornings and Thursday nights, it was ladies' night. So I never made it to that class and I ended up failing that class. And like, that's shocking. That was a shocker because I loved art, but I couldn't make it to the class. I was more interested in being in the club.
See, I was one of those weird kids that always really liked school and really liked homework. And I would like go right home and do all my homework as soon as I got home from school. I know I was a weird kid, but
Your parents must have loved that though.
Yeah, they sure did. But I set the example really high for my brother and sister and they hated that.
Yeah.
But when I went to college, I started off going for pre-med. So I was taking all those science classes in chemistry and it was a lot of work. Yeah. And I just realized like 2 years in that like, maybe I really don't want to do this for the next 8 years of my life, because you need to go to school for a long time. I realized that by the time I would graduate, would probably be around the time where I wanted to be getting married and having kids. And if I had kids, then I would have to forget about my career for a little while at least. So I decided to not go that route.
That's the thing. If you want to be a doctor or you want to be a lawyer and make the money, because I feel like those are like the two professions you're going to make any sort of money in, you have to be in school for 10 plus years. And I was so not interested in that. I hated school.
What I should have done though is become a doctor and then married a doctor. And then I could have stopped and had kids.
Yes, exactly. Right. We should have married rich.
Are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Don't know where to start? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to start a podcast. Let me tell you about it. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And best of all, it's free. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Remarried for looks and love, not money.
Right.
I think another thing though that I would have done more is to travel more.
Oh yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah, when I was younger, like before I got into a serious relationship with Rob, I did try to travel, but you're young. How many places can you really go on an 18-year-old salary? So, I had gone to like California and really like upstate to visit some friends in college. Well, me and you went together to visit college. I never really went anywhere exciting. I've never been out of the country. And even to this day, me and Rob, we wrote out a list of all the states I've been to, all the states he's been to, and then the states that we haven't been to. So we were trying to like check off every year, like a new state to go to. And I would love to see all the states before I travel outside of the United States. And my dream vacation is going to the Maldives. I will get there one day, but I know it's like a 20-hour plane ride and Rob's not really happy about that, but
especially right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now that's not really practical. Even like now, we're looking to go on vacation in July, and everything is so expensive. Like, obviously, I want to stay on the beach because we like the beach. We were looking to go to Virginia Beach. They want $2,000 to spend 5 nights on the boardwalk in Virginia Beach. $2,000. I want to spend $2,000 for my entire vacation, not just a room that I'm going to use to sleep in and look at the ocean every now and then, you know?
Yeah, and that's a hotel room, right? Not even like a whole house.
Yeah, that's a hotel room. So it's not even, it's a king room with a sofa bed. So it's
Wow.
anything special. I mean, they have a balcony facing the ocean, but I mean, I guess you're paying for the view and you're paying for the time that, you know, we wanted to go in like July because we always go on vacation off season. So it was really I like go when the kids could have fun and go to the water parks and everything's open and not
Right.
like it's closed because it's September or October, you know?
I like that idea that you check off all the states that you haven't visited yet. I think that's cute.
Yeah.
I don't know how much Martin has traveled. I don't think he's really traveled all that much, but
Yeah.
I know I kind of lucked out a little bit because my dad, he works for American Airlines, and he used to get like basically we would fly for free when we were kids. We'd go standby, but
Yeah.
our parents always worked it out where we would go on kind of like the most dead flights so we could all kind of sit together.
Yeah.
So
I remember
we
you went
traveled
to Italy once, right?
we traveled a lot when we were kids. I mean, I've been traveling since I was born. When I turned 1, my parents took me to like Germany, Italy. We toured all of Europe. But yes, when I was 15, I went to Italy, Argentina, Hawaii, all in the same year.
I remember when you went to
And
Hawaii.
then yep, I celebrated my quinceañera in Argentina, so that was fun. And I was also learning Italian in school, so when we went to Italy, I was actually able to communicate with my cousins and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've been to California. I've been to Virginia. Virginia Beach is really pretty. I love it.
I heard like one of Rob's friends, he's been to like Antigua and all those like islands and Virginia Beach. And Virginia Beach blows any of those islands away, which is kind of interesting to me.
Really?
Because, you know, living on Long Island, we share the same water. It's the same beach, you know? So, I mean, but I guess the atmosphere is different, but I would love to go to like, see, to spend $2,000 on a hotel. So you're going to be spending at least $4,000 to $5,000 for the entire vacation. I would rather go to like a Sandals resort, an all exclusive place down in Aruba, Antigua, something like that, you know, where you can just be on a tropical island, not in Virginia.
Yes. Yeah, it does get expensive. I know me and Martin took a road trip down to Virginia after Julie was like, when she was like 1.5, 2 years old. We drove down there and we ended up staying in a different hotel every night because we wanted to make it as cheap as possible. But we were able to do it under $2,000. But it was just me and him, no kids. And we stayed in like really low budget hotels because we literally were just there to sleep, you know, the whole day we would be out all day and then just go back to the hotel room, sleep, check out.
See, like the one thing that we did do that I was happy about is we went to Atlantic City often. We love to gamble. So we had free rooms at all the hotels down there. So like every now and then we would just be like, hey, you want to go to Atlantic City? And we would just up and go. I mean, obviously that's before kids, but now going on vacation with kids, sometimes it can just be a nightmare.
Yeah, sometimes vacations with kids feel like work rather than fun.
Yeah.
So another thing that I would go back and tell myself is to enjoy my freedom before the kids, because I feel like I kind of took it a little bit for granted. Especially in my early 20s, I was always thinking, I want to get married and have kids. I want to get married and have kids. But then when you have kids, you're like, man, I should have stayed without kids a little bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, we're like the last of that generation of that like cookie cutter life where you graduate high school, you get married, you have kids, you buy the house, you know. The younger kids now, they're not even having kids until they're in their mid-30s.
I just learned that they don't even want to drive. Like they were interviewing some kids online and asking them, when are you going to get your license? And they're like, no, I'm not interested in driving. That scares me. I'd rather just Uber everything. Like that to me was like shocking. So I'm like, what? That was like my freedom ticket right there. My car. I can literally go wherever I want. Now I don't have to ask my mom to drive me to the mall.
Yeah, when I turned 16 on my birthday, I was at the DMV taking that road test,
You and me both.
ready to go. And I think I was even driving beforehand too.
And the second day I had my car, you know what I did? I went and found a job so I can pay
Right?
for gas.
See, that's the problem. Is a lot of these younger kids, they don't want to leave mommy and daddy's house. They don't want to drive. They don't want to get a job. I feel like technology is so advanced these days that it kind of makes them lazier in the
I
sense.
also think that that some of the parents are kind of sheltering their kids a lot more these days.
It's hard not to. I mean, we live in a scary world. It's not
It's like everyone lives in a bubble.
Mhm. Even like I've been watching these like murder mystery shows lately, and then there's this new
I watch those 24/7.
there's this new show called Disappeared, and it's all about families that
Kids who disappeared. Yeah.
yes. And that's my biggest fear, and that's why, like, if they're out in the front yard or the driveway, I can't even leave them to go out and play by themselves because I'm afraid that somebody's gonna come by and just like snatch them.
Yeah, it's hard to find the balance between letting go and letting them be independent, and then also trying to hold on to them so that, like, because of your fears. Because I have that same exact fear, especially when Julie was younger. I always had that fear, like, oh my God, somebody's gonna try to steal her. And we did have an experience like that in a store where some guy was like following my cousins were, I think I told you guys this story before, but my cousins were with my daughter, and this guy was following them around in all the aisles. So they left the store and went to the store next door, and he followed them into that store. And that's when they realized, like, we need to get out of here. So like when they told me that freaked me out. Like I don't trust people. People are creepy.
I don't either. And I'm no joke in the store. If you're following me around, I'm going to start to make a scene. I'll throw shit at you, like whatever, just to get attention, so people care that you're having an issue maybe or whatever. My kids think I'm crazy because every time we're in the store, I'm like nuts with them walking behind me. I cannot stand it when they're walking behind me. I tell them I don't have eyes behind my back. It takes 2 seconds for somebody to grab you and run away with you. So you need to be walking in front of me.
It's true though.
But back to the freedom thing, I feel the same way. I wish that maybe I had waited a little longer to have kids. Me and Rob, we got married when we were 25, and then I had Nate when we were 26. So, I mean, we were already together for 5 years at the time. So we did have some freedom, but it was not like that newlywed married freedom,
Right. And I was 26 when I got married and when I had Julie. So it was all in the same year. Yeah. So it was, I wish that I would have gotten married earlier and like been married without a baby for a while,
Yeah.
But
another thing that's on my list too is I wish that I had a wedding. When me and Rob got married, we didn't have a lot of money. We lived in a basement apartment in somebody's house. And nobody on his side of the family or my side of the family was willing to put up any money to give us a wedding. And at the time, like the cheapest wedding package, I think was like $10,000 and $1,000. And we were not willing to put ourselves in debt to have a wedding. I can't stand people that do that. Like if they're like, oh, I'm going to have a $60,000 wedding. I can't afford it, but I'm going to put it on a credit card or something. I would never in a million years do that. But now we'll be married 10 years, May 20th. And I don't have any pictures. I didn't get to wear a wedding dress. I didn't get to have a party, no wedding cake, no wedding shower. So I have like no appliances and no bowls and no, like, the stuff you get when you have a wedding shower.
Yeah. I don't know because I didn't have one either. So
Yeah, and like, when you get married, people are supposed to give you money just to help you start off your marriage on the right foot. And we did have a little celebration. We went to the Chinese buffet. We paid for it ourselves. We paid for everybody else, the cake and everything. Like, it was really awkward to go order your own wedding cake. I mean, I guess that's what people do, but I mean, I don't know. I just felt it was like weird. We ordered it from like ShopRite or something. But because we didn't have a formal wedding, people in the family decided that they weren't going to give us the amount of money they would have if we had a formal wedding. Like, we had just like $20. Like, seriously? We just got
That's not even birthday money.
exactly. I'm like, $20? Like, it's ridiculous. And then we had other people in the family getting married. My sister got married. Rob's sister got married. I mean, she got married before us, but my sister got married after us. And the envelopes of cash, it's like, oh, I made $30,000 in cash from my wedding. I think I made 1,000 from the people, 2,000 that people that give. I mean, I'm not expecting anybody to give anything, but just the thought that you decided to give less money because we didn't have that formal wedding, it's a little off-putting to me.
I think that you're getting married. You're not paying for your plate, whatever your plate costs. You're paying to invest in your marriage and in your life. So that's how people should look at it. I mean, a gift is a gift. You should be grateful no matter what.
Yeah.
However, in a wedding, it is customary to give at least $100 a person.
Yeah.
We are so excited to have special guests on our show this Friday. If you're curious to know who will be joining us, please check out our Instagram page at candid.motherhood and follow us for a sneak peek into Friday's episode.
So another thing that I would go back and tell myself is the choices that you make now are going to shape your future. So make better choices. Think about everything that you're going to do and how it's going to affect you in the long term. Because when you're young, you just tend to think about the really short term. Like, okay, well, I have $100 in my bank account right now. Let's go blow it. You don't think about the next week when you got to pay your car insurance.
That was me and Rob to the T. If we had $9 left, what are we going to go do? We really lived paycheck to paycheck and penny to penny.
And moment to moment, like, you did not care about your future back then. But I would say, go back and say, think about what you're doing because it's going to affect you later. Like for your credit, for example, or anything really. Like getting a dog. Your dog is going to live for a really long time. So don't just get a puppy because he's cute. Think about it. Think about long term, like, how are you going to go on vacation? Who's going to watch your dog? What are you going to do with it while you're at work?
Well, it's the same with kids too, right? You have kids, there's no return policy. So
right.
You're stuck with them forever.
I feel like I waited long enough to have kids though. I was 26. I wish I would have gotten married earlier, but having kids, I think I had them at a good age. I always knew I didn't want to be like an older mother. So I wanted to do it in my 20s while I still had energy and vibrancy and youth, It
was like, we both had kids when we were like 26. And nowadays 26 is now 36. That's when people are having their kids.
Well, let me tell you, by the time you're 36 and you have kids, you feel like you're 46.
Exactly.
So you don't have the energy anymore.
No, I could not. Like, I've thought about maybe possibly having a third kid. And then you think about what goes into the baby in the first few years of life. I don't have it in me. I really don't. I couldn't do it anymore.
When I was pregnant with Nikki and right after I had him, I always knew I wanted 3 kids. So I said, Martin, it's got to happen in the next 2 years
never.
Or we're not having any more. So he was like, okay, I'm okay with not having any more. But I was like, no, I want one more. So we compromised. We had one more. And now we're like, no, we're done. I considered having a 4th, if you can believe that. But I ran it through my head and I'm like, do I really want a baby attached to me for another 2 years? Like, no, I don't. No, I'm done.
Yeah, and like, I'm 35, and the other day it really hit me. I'm like, holy crap, I'm 35. I'm halfway to 40. Like 40 to me, being 40 years old, I feel so old. Being 35, I feel so old. So I could not imagine having a newborn at 35 or 40 years old. Maybe if you have a lot of money and you have extra help, that helps in that aspect. But I just couldn't do it.
I mean, I think that a lot of people can, it's possible. I mean, you're still pretty young, but the thing is that we already have 8 and 9 year olds. Do we really want to start over again? Like that's really the thing. For
Like
me,
I
the answer
planned
is
it.
no.
I
Everyone's
planned
different
it.
though.
Yeah, I planned it in a way that I knew that when I'm 20, I'm 26 having my first kid. When I'm 46, Nate's going to be 20 and Lacey's going to be 18. So it's like you're 46 years old and you have kids that are grown and either out of the house or they just, they're a grown kid. They don't need you like they used to, and you can have your own life again. So I feel like at 46, that would be a really good time to start your life over with your husband again and just you and him.
That's good planning right there.
Yeah.
Because I have a 2-year-old, so I guess I'm gonna have to wait like another 10 years after that.
Yeah. I just can't wait until the day that they can be left alone and me and Rob can go out by ourselves and not have a babysitter.
Yeah, and remember the days when you were left home alone, and you're gonna double think that.
I was left home at his age, home alone. Definitely.
Times were a lot different back then, though. Trust me. I was too, but it was different. I feel like also I was not that my kid's not responsible, but my siblings are also much closer in age to me than my kids. And I don't feel comfortable leaving a 2-year-old with an 8-year-old,
No, definitely not.
Yeah, no.
But it's funny. The other day, Nate asked me, he's like, can you teach me how to use the oven, use the stove, and wash the dishes? So this way.
Oh, wow. Mr. Responsible.
Well, his reasoning was so that we can leave him home alone.
Sorry, not yet, kid.
No, exactly. I'm like, you're 8 years old. You're not going to be left alone for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe
I would
13?
say 12 is probably a good age.
Yeah. Like I feel like when you really know how to like cook and clean and know what to do in an emergency situation, that's really the biggest thing. Is like he's 8 years old. Yes, he knows to call 911 if something were to happen, but nowadays I don't even have a house phone. So how is he calling 911 if we're not home?
Well, that's the reason why a lot of kids have cell phones these days. And Julie used to have like one of those little watch cell phones where we could program the numbers and she could only call those 4 people.
Right.
But we ended up canceling it for her. And then eventually when the time comes, we're just going to get her a really basic phone because, kids that stay alone or have a lot of after school programs, I think that's good for them to have. Another thing that I would go back and tell myself is your mistakes don't define you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you make a lot of mistakes when you're a kid and then you kind of like look back and you're like, well, if I didn't do this, then I'd be a better person. And if I didn't do this, well, no, like you can't change your past, but you can change your future. So just because you did something bad in your past, just because you smoked pot in your past or you stole something in your past doesn't mean that you're a thief and a pothead now. Like you can change everything.
Yeah.
Your past does not define you.
That was another thing that was on my list. Like, don't dwell on the past. That's one thing I would have changed also is, we all experimented when we were younger, and I kind of wish I didn't experiment because I feel like that led to other things that maybe I shouldn't have done. But had I had not experimented, I mean, who knows what would have happened. But I don't know. I feel like it was like a way to express yourself and explore new things, But do I regret doing some of the things I did? Absolutely.
Well, just know that whatever you did in your past, it doesn't define who you are today. You can still mold your future and mold, the years to come. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you make mistakes.
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I'd probably tell my younger self is to never drink and drive, because that was something that I did. I'm not going to say I did it often, but I did it more than I should have. Thankfully, I never got a DUI. I never killed anybody and never hurt anyone or anything like that. But knowing what I know now, I would never in a million years drive drunk.
Actually, I was always adamant about not drinking and driving. And you know me for a long time. So, if we were together and you were drinking, then I was driving. Because I was always the one sober and being the sober, responsible driver. I would definitely make sure that everyone was safe in that manner. Even if it took me 2 trips to drive somebody home and come back and pick them up, I would. Because that's one of my biggest things is don't drive drunk. And yeah, I'm pretty good with that. I'm not really a big drinker to begin with, so I really don't mind not drinking.
I'm not really a big drinker, but I just feel like, when I was younger, you want to try to fit in. So that's why I did some of the drugs I did. I drank, somebody's like, oh, here, why don't you try this? And you're like, what are you going to do? Say no, when everybody else is doing it, so you do it.
Oh, me, I was always the goody girl. I wouldn't, I would be the one always saying no.
Yeah, you were. It's like,
okay. You want that? Nope. I would just sit here and watch you guys roll, but not me.
Yes, that is true.
So another thing that I would go back and tell myself is do more of the things that make you happy.
Yeah, and especially after you have kids, that you really don't have time to do the things that maybe make you happy or that you enjoy, because the kids take up a lot of your time. I know there were like a lot of things that I wanted to do when I was younger. Like I was into art. I wanted to cook. I wanted to be a chef. I wish I had maybe put myself out there more in that aspect. Maybe did some art shows. I always wanted to like put my art in like a gallery or something. I just never, I don't know, had the guts to do it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
That was like, that's another thing is like, I feel like I would tell myself, don't listen to so much to other people's opinions. Like they don't really.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It matters about what makes you happy inside and out, and not, I feel like I focus too much on what other people think and what they, and because of that, I was used and abused by a lot of people, and they weren't my friends, and they were just there because I had a car and because I had money,
Yeah. Also, I remember I used to love, and I still do love to do hair. And I still I try to learn how to cut hair and stuff like that. And I remember I wanted to go to the BOCES program at school to learn how to cut hair. Yeah. And so I was speaking to my guidance counselor about it. And you know what she told me? She said, honey, your math scores are way too good to be going to BOCES. And I took it as offensive because I was like, what? I was like, so what are you trying to say? That people go to BOCES are like stupid? Get F's and fail? Yeah, they're stupid.
Yeah.
And I just was so offended by that I was just like, wow. But I ended up not going to BOCES because of what she said. She's like, you're better than that. You need to go to a real college. But honestly, I just wanted to cut hair. Yeah. I was into hair and makeup, and that's what I really wanted to do. And I feel like my life would have gone in a different direction had I actually followed and pursued, the things that I liked and the things that I was interested in. I should not have taken her opinion. That's one thing that if I had to go back and tell myself, I would say, don't listen to that lady.
Yeah, for real. Like, why would you try to sway somebody from their dreams? You're supposed to guide them, not.
Right. I told my mom that, and she was just really shocked too. I remember that. I remember coming home, I was really upset that day.
I remember my guidance counselor, we were talking about college because they make you see them to talk about what college you're going to go to or where
exactly
you get accepted to. And she was like, well, the only college you're going to get accepted to is Buffalo State College. And
didn't we have the greatest guidance counselors? Like,
oh,
what
they're
the
amazing.
heck?
Oh yeah, such upstanding citizens. But like
maybe we had the same guidance counselor.
We probably did. But I took that baking class back in 2019, and I did that for myself. And it wasn't, free. I had to pay for it. But it was something that I always wanted to do. And I was already a baker to begin with, but I wanted to like fine tune my skills. So I decided to take the money, and like I said, it wasn't cheap, and do it for me. And I'm so glad that I did, because it was something that it was just about me. It was something that I liked. And now I am able to use the tools that I learned for my cookie business and putting it into, other aspects. I just like baking. That's what makes me happy. So I can just make anything now. And
you're doing more of what makes you happy.
Exactly. And it helps me in the long run, not just baking, but like in cooking in general. So I feel like that was one thing that I actually did for myself. There's not many things that I do for myself.
Another thing that I would go back and tell myself is to remain firm in my faith in God. Because when I was younger, I grew up going to church and stuff. I've always believed in God. But, like you said before, you're trying to fit in and stuff like that. And not too many people, at least not in my little circle of friends, followed God and went to church and all that.
We followed the devil.
So I felt like I was alone there, and I definitely fell into the peer pressure and going out and partying, and I fell away from God for a while. But now that I'm, in my 30s and I have my own family, and God is like really important to me in my life. I go to church all the time, every Sunday. I do my devotionals every day. So I feel like if I would have never gotten so far away from my faith when I was a kid, that my life probably would have gone in a completely different direction.
Yeah. I mean, I know I grew up in a Catholic household. I don't consider myself Catholic now. I consider myself Christian. I am not a fan of the Catholic Church. I just don't believe in what they have to say. It's, they still believe in the Bible and everything, but it's a little more lenient in the Christian side. I never understood like the guys in the Catholic Church with the little smoke things, and you got the priest up there falling asleep. But I went to religion. I made my confirmation. I made my communion. I did all that stuff. But, obviously when you get older, like you said, you want to fit in and you want to just do whatever your friends are doing. And, we didn't have the best of friends. They were always doing bad things, and we always had the cops around us. And like, I knew better, and I didn't want to be necessarily in those situations, but what was I going to do? Sit at home and be alone by myself? I'd rather be out,
But you know what? I think by the grace of God that we were saved from a lot of those situations too, and being put in worse situations.
Absolutely. I've never been arrested in my life. I've never even been in handcuffs. So definitely a lot of those situations, we saw a bunch of our friends getting taken away by the cops. But, like you said, by the grace of God, we got off on some of the, things that we did, like stealing some construction signs and stuff like that.
And now you know that how much influence like a praying parent has over your situation too, because I know for sure my mom was praying over me every time I was out. I know that for a fact.
Oh, well, I said to Rob the other day, when our kids are at the age where they're going to be out on their own and having their own social life, I'm never going to sleep. I'm going to have to put a tracker on their phone. Lie down. No, I'm serious. Like, I'm gonna have to put a tracker on the phone, because I'm not gonna be able to be like a normal person if I don't have one.
Well, the good thing is that if they're on your plan, you can put a tracker on their phone, no problem.
Oh, well, it's definitely gonna happen. But also, now that I'm older, I never lost my faith in God, but I didn't necessarily go to church or anything,
for a while. We recently started going to church again.
Now I know that you're gonna put a track on
I
your
have
phone.
not been to my church though in a few months. I want to say the timing is bad when they have the services and stuff. I mean, I know that's really not like a good thing to say because, you know, it's God, but you don't need to be in the house of God to be worshiping God. So
That's true.
just because I don't necessarily make my face appear at church, that doesn't mean that I don't have faith. You know, I am still reading the Bible. I have my devotion and my Bible that you sent me for my birthday, which I love. But yeah, I haven't lost my faith in God. You know, I pray every single day. I talk to God every single day. And like I said, I don't think you necessarily be in the house of God to have a relationship with him.
You're absolutely right about that. I just wish I would have not lost all those years, you know?
Yeah.
Another thing that I would go back and tell myself is your family is are the most important people in your life.
I have I don't know. I never really had a great relationship with my dad. Like I said before, my parents are still married and everything, but I'm still struggling with that to this day.
I have like a really, really big family, and I love my family. Like they're amazing. They're loving, they're welcoming, they're hospitable. And like, we still get together for every single family birthday occasion.
I loved going to your
holiday.
family parties. They were always like a big like thing.
Yes, a
Food,
big
people.
celebration.
Yeah.
But I feel like when I was younger, especially my teenage years and early 20s, all I wanted to do was hang out with my friends.
Mhm.
And I took my family for granted for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely did too. I remember my dad telling me once, "You need to be home more with the family," and I straight up told him, "Why? You guys are boring. I don't want to be here with you." I think I was like 17 or 18 at the time. You know, I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know,
But it's like, because you're thinking my family's always going to be there for me, but my friends, you know, I might lose my friends. So you go and you hang out with your friends and you always like take your family for granted. So that's
but
one thing.
now look at it though, like me and you are still friends, but look at all the other people that we're not friends with.
Yeah.
But I have forgiven my parents for the things that they have done in the past, because I realized that they couldn't help themselves. And that was just their way of coping with being a parent and being in those situations. So I feel a little bit better within myself in that aspect, that I have forgiven them, but I still struggle with it.
Well, I guess I was lucky in the sense that my family is also forgiving, because they could have chosen not to forgive me for the way I treated them in the past, you know?
Yeah, that's
So
true. Yeah.
I'm lucky in that sense. I know that not everybody has the same situation with the family like I do.
Mhm.
And if you're in a volatile situation with your family or abusive situation, then obviously, you know, family is still going to be important because they're your blood, and you, no matter what, you're tied to them. But
Well,
it
I
doesn't
realize
mean that you need
now-
to hang out with them.
Yeah, I realize now that, you know, having my own family, having my husband and my kids, that they are the most important thing to me. And
Mhm.
of everything else, money, work, anything else, family is number one. And
Right.
I know that we don't have a lot of time on this earth in the grand scheme of earth and how long it's been around. Us people, we're not here for a very long period of time, and you're not promised tomorrow, you know, and you don't know if you're going to make it tomorrow. So to really live in the present moment is what I've been trying to do lately, and just really take time for the family and spend more time together, because really time is of the essence, right?
Right. And it's if 2020 has showed us nothing else, it has shown us that, right?
Absolutely. I feel like 2020, although as bad as it was, my business closed for months due to the quarantine. We lost money and all these different things, you know, but
the negative didn't outweigh the positive, in the sense that we were all home as a family, for like 2 months, whereas before that would have never in a million years happened.
I agree. There are so many things that 2020 tried to take something away from us, but in the end, it actually ended up working out the other way around and started bringing good to people, because we got to spend more time together. We actually got to know our family members better.
I know for us, like after a few weeks, after like it really kind of died down, where like people weren't going crazy, like hoarding food, and really things were like crazy. We started getting cabin fever. We're like, we just need to get out of here. So we started doing hikes, and we found so many places on Long Island that I didn't even know existed, hiking trails and walking trails. And like, so we got exercise, and we found all these new places, and the kids were happy because they were outside. They just want to be outside.
Right. Yeah. So that was one of the greatest things to happen for us in 2022. But that's what you were saying before about how you were forgiving your parents and stuff like that. I also have on my list, don't let anger overtake you, because I feel like I spent a lot of my younger years being angry at something or someone. And
I was a very angry person.
I didn't know how to forgive people. Yeah. And it was changing me.
Yeah. I think I dealt with.
So I don't know if you have anything else to offer. I just have like, invest in yourself and don't rush trying to grow up. And that's the last thing that I would go and tell myself, because I feel like when you're young, all you want to do is get on to the next stage in your life. Like, when you're a kid, all you want to do is grow up. And then when you're a teenager, all you want to do is turn 21 and drink. And then when you're 21, you're like, oh, when I'm 25 and I'm done with school, I'm going to do all these things. And then when you're 25, you're like, something else.
Well, then when you're 35, like we are, you're like,
I wish I was 25 again.
Exactly. I got all these aches and pains now that I didn't have 10 years ago that I wish I could change.
So maybe a better thing would be like, live in the moment and enjoy the season that you're in right now, and don't try to wish you were somewhere else or other era.
It's funny you talk about seasons, because they talk about that at church all the time. Don't rush the seasons. Just because we're coming into summer, that doesn't mean that you're going to go pack up your spring clothes and start wearing shorts and a tank top. Spring's still here.
Right. I like to think about it like the end of something is always the beginning of something else.
Absolutely.
So I learned that in my 30s.
Yeah. I think the only other thing that I would say that is on my list is money. Really not spending money like I did, and like you said with the credit cards earlier, but having that mentality to save for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm 35, that's what I'm trying to do now, where had I had done it 10 years ago, who knows how much money I would have saved by now.
Yeah, it's much easier to save when you're single than when it is when you have kids, because there's always something you got to pay for the kids. There's bills and emergencies and everything. But when you're single, you can kind of predict everything. You have way less bills. Your money's just getting spent on yourself. All you have to do is maybe buy yourself one less purse that month.
Yeah. Well, see, now, like, we're trying to figure out what we can do to maximize the money that we have. And, the one thing we have is our house, and we live on Long Island, and the housing market is on fire right now. So our house is worth.
Girl, I think that's everywhere.
Yeah, I think so too. But like everything else, what goes up must come down. So that eventually is probably going to crash. Like,
I heard in California, the market's crazy right now. There's so many houses for sale because everyone's like mass exiting.
Yeah, same here. It's every single day there's a new house up for sale. And, when I bought my house 8 years ago, it's now double what it's worth.
Great time to sell. I guess that might be a good reason why everyone's selling.
Yeah, the only problem
I know I only bought my house last year and it's already gone up 40 grand.
Yeah, we would like to sell and make a nice profit from the house, but the question is, where do you go? You need a place to live, right?
Even though we can't physically go back in time and tell ourselves these things, hopefully maybe somebody that's younger will listen to this and learn through our mistakes. And we especially can teach our kids through our own mistakes what they can do. Even though they might not listen, you still have to tell them, because there's a small chance they might just listen. I know we probably wouldn't be in all these situations if we had just listened to our parents.
Yeah, but like you said, hopefully there's like 1% of the information we give them that they follow and take with them, when they get a little bit older. But like you said, you can't change the past. You can't dwell on it. You can only grow and learn from it and learn from your mistakes and become a better person in the end.
That's right. And the reason why we make some mistakes is to grow and to hopefully not make them again in the future. Can't wait to see you guys on Friday and have a great week.
Thank you for listening, Candid Mamas. See you Friday. Thank you so much for listening to Candid Motherhood Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please subscribe, share, and rate our podcast.
If you have any ideas for future episodes or want to learn more about us, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at candid.motherhood and on Twitter at cmotherhood.
We appreciate your love and support. Until next time, thank you, Candid Mamas.